Though Nawas started persecuting a lot of people that entered the Christianity, and he actually dug a huge ditch of fire, and he started throwing people that converted from Judaism to Christianity in that ditch. And it is mentioned in the Quran. No, Surat Al-Zumar. No, I'm sorry. Surat Al-Buruj. Astaghfirullah. Surat Al-Buruj. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود. So أصحاب الأخدود is the people of the ditch. Now every time you go to the surah Al-Buruj, or the chapter of Buruj, you'll remember this incident. Again, like I said, the Quran doesn't mention these details. That's why we go to the Seerah. That's why scholars spent a lot of time collecting the Seerah. So, though Nawas, he started persecuting people that converted to Judaism, to Christianity from Judaism. And he started putting people in the ditch. Except for one person who actually fled and went to the Roman emperor. And that person, his name is Tha'laban. Tha'laban was the only person that escaped and took off to Rome, to the Roman emperor. And he informed him of what Nawas was doing. So the Roman emperor at that time, he had Najashi, who is the king of Ethiopia, under his command and his control. So he gave him a letter and he told him, go to Najashi and give him this letter. So he came all the way, Dhu Tha'laban came all the way back to Ethiopia, and he gave the king Najashi, and we'll talk about the Najashi in the future as well. He gave him that letter. So Najashi, of course, he was a Christian himself, but again, somewhat followed the true teachings of Isa alayhi salam, and he sent an army of 70,000 soldiers to Yemen to destroy Yemen, and under the leadership of Aryat, leadership of a general called Aryat. So Aryat, the Ethiopian general, of course, he defeated the army of Dhu Nawas, and Dhu Nawas ran away. So now Yemen is going through a different phase in history. Now Yemen is under the leadership of Najashi through Aryat, who is the general. At the same time, it was another general. His name is Abraha, and we're getting closer to the birth of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But I wanted you to know all these incidents, why it occurred the way it occurred. Abraha overthrew his general Aryat in Yemen, and he killed Aryat. Now the news reached Najashi, the king of Ethiopia, and he was very, very, very upset. Abraha was very diplomatic and very smart person. So he sent letters of love and admiration to the Najashi. So he forgave him and endorsed him, and he told him, stay there and be my general in Yemen and take care of the business in Yemen. So Abraha wanted to impress the Najashi, so he built one of the biggest churches ever built in the Arabian Peninsula. And this church was called Qulais, the Church of Qulais, the biggest church that was ever built in the Arabian Peninsula was called the Church of Qulais. He did it for multiple reasons. He did it to impress Najashi and to forgive him, and he also did it to tell all the people that go to the pilgrimage in Mecca that they have to come to Yemen to perform pilgrimage. He was a dictator. It's not like a choice. You have to come in and perform pilgrimage at Qulais, no more Mecca. So he built a massive church, And like we said, the biggest church in the Arabian Peninsula. So the news reached Mecca and reached the Arabs in Mecca. And one of the Arabs, in a way or another, he decided, okay, if you think Arabs are stubborn, at that time they were more stubborn. So unfortunately, this Arab, he took hands in his matter, and he went to the church, he visited the church, and he's done his natural call in the church. And he took all those, his fishes, and put it all in the walls of the church. That was very humiliating to Abraha. So Abraha got the news, and he found out that it was an Arab, and that just actually made it easier for him to complete his goal, which is to go destroy Mecca, and at the same time make the pilgrimage back to Qulais instead of Mecca. So he went towards the Kaaba, towards Mecca. But unfortunately, he has no idea where he's going. He's going from Mecca, from Yemen, all the way to Mecca. He needs help. So he needs someone to tell him where Mecca is. So of course, all the Arabs consider that a treason. Nobody will tell him where Mecca is. He'll find it eventually, but nobody is going to guide him to where Mecca is, except for one person. And that person's name is Abu Rughal. It was a person's name, Abu Rughal. He came to him, he told him, I'll show you where Mecca is, follow me. And subhanAllah, in a way or another, that person died in the middle of the desert. So they buried him. Until up to date, the people of the Arabs, they used to stone his grave. And if they want to say to someone that he's a traitor, they would tell him, they would say that he is the brother of Abu Rughal, because he was a traitor. So in a way or another, Abraha finds the way to Mecca. He makes it all the way to Mecca, outside of the gates of Mecca. But he didn't enter Mecca, just outside the gates of Mecca. And he puts his tent in there.
It's almost 8, so maybe.
What time is it?
Almost 8 o'clock.
Okay, just another probably 10 minutes.
Okay.
So Abraha continued to go towards Mecca, and he put his tent just outside the door of Mecca. And he told them who is the leader of Mecca. And before that incident happened, he actually sent his soldiers to take all the camels and the blessings of other people. So among those people, it was Abdul Muttalib, who actually they took the soldiers of Abraha, they took 200 camels from him. And Abdul Muttalib came to Abraha. Abdul Muttalib, we're talking about the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He was a very handsome man. And Abraha was a very ugly man. He was short, he was a very, very ugly man. If you have ever watched a Risala or the message of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you'll see they actually imitate or describe Abraha as a very ugly man and short and this and that. So anyhow, so Abraha, when the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to his tent, he got up. He saw the respect he has in his face. He got up, he couldn't help it. And he actually wanted to put him in the throne with him. You know, because kings and leaders, they like to sit on high, chairs and stuff like that. So instead, he sat down on the ground with Abdul Muttalib.